Dr. Robert Epstein joins me now. Doctor, thanks for stopping in.
It's my pleasure.
All right, I do want to touch on your research in just a moment. Before I do that, I want to put up this picture of you and Hillary Clinton. I know you've not made it very secretive. You've made it very public that you've always been a supporter of Bill and Hillary Clinton. But I think what this means, regardless of political leanings, Google and the manipulation and your research, this is a big deal. So I want to touch on your research in just a moment, but I also want to touch on the gravity that this carries, that this issue carries on Capitol Hill. When you testified in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee in July, just a month ago, there were only 3 senators on that panel that showed up. What does that tell you about the efforts, about the gravity of this issue? Should more lawmakers be on top of this since your testimony, before and after your testimony?
Well, first of all, for the record, at any one time, there were 3 senators, but actually people kept coming in and out. So I think there were maybe 8 senators altogether showed up. But you know, there's not enough interest in Congress, and of course, Congress is so immobilized by partisanship that they're having trouble kind of getting things done. This is an issue that's extremely important for democracy, for our free and fair election. It's going to be extremely important in 2020. But I don't think Congress is going to get it together. I don't think they're going to act in time to make any difference. The issue being that big tech companies, especially Google, can shift a lot of votes without people knowing and without leaving a paper trail.
Senator Josh Hawley, the Republicans made a big deal about this social media bias. Has anyone called you to Capitol Hill? Are you planning on working with lawmakers potentially on something?
I've been getting calls for sure. By the way, there are a couple of people on the other side of the aisle. Richard Blumenthal was at the hearing and was very, very hard on the representative from Google. So yes, I've been getting calls. There's no question that interest is growing. I'm afraid that Congress is just not going to get it together in time to protect us, the American public, from interference in the 2020 election by big tech companies.
All right, well, that's what happens next with Congress, but I want to touch on one particular word. In some recently leaked emails from Google that you tweeted out recently, the word ephemeral is used. Now, is this the crux of this issue, this idea that we're fed information and we're influenced in some way by searching for content online without realizing that we're being influenced in any way? Is this part of the problem?
I'm so glad you brought this up because a lot of people don't even know that word ephemeral. But yes, this is a big part of the power that companies like Google have to impact our thinking and behavior without us knowing and without leaving a paper trail, because we look something up, we get some search results, they're generated on the fly, right? They impact us, they disappear, and they're gone forever and they're not stored anywhere. You can't go back in time and figure out what were people shown. So a lot of the power that these companies have come from ephemeral experiences, and sure enough, that phrase turned up in one of the emails leaked last year to the Wall Street Journal. That was in an email from a Google employee saying, how can we use ephemeral experiences to change people's views about Donald Trump?
Essentially, it's subliminal.
It is essentially subliminal, and I, over the years, have discovered now about a dozen different subliminal techniques, like search results, that are having a tremendous impact on the thinking and behavior of more than 2.5 billion people around the world right now. It's not just the US, it's around the world. This is an enormous problem that deserves very close attention. Now, in my opinion, right now.
Well, who's to blame here? Could Google just essentially change a particular algorithm and fix this entire problem? If they say it's nothing they're doing on purpose, because they deny your research, by the way, that they have a bias and then they're manipulating voters, could they just change an algorithm?
Sort of. In other words, in the experiments that I perform, I have total control over what people see, the search suggestions that are flashed at them, the order of search results, that kind of thing. As one of the recent Google leakers said, Greg Coppola, you know, I'm a programmer. We write programs. We make our programs do whatever we want. So yes, in theory, Google could straighten this out. But let's think about this. If they're just kind of doing things deliberately, that's terrible. But if they're just letting things happen, and just the way they built the algorithms end up favoring one candidate over another, well, guess what? That can shift millions of votes. So even if they're not doing this deliberately, this is extremely dangerous. And again, this issue needs to be examined.